here from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to my weekly live chat. Let me cut this off real quick. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome. If you are joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those of you that join me regularly, welcome back. Every week I try to go live here on Thursday nights. Tonight we're going live on Friday night. I just postponed it a day. And tonight we're talking about herbal infusions and making different types of herbal infusions. In the description section of this video, you will find a link to my comprehensive planting guide, a link to sign up for my emails if you'd like to get more information, and then also some of the information that I'm going to be discussing tonight in my Making Herbal Infusions video. First, before I get started, I need to turn my tea kettle back on so that we're ready to make our herbal infusions as soon as I discuss with you how we're going to do this. So an herbal infusion is so easy. It's literally like making a cup of tea. If you've already brewed a cup of tea, you already know how to make it, but I'm going to share a couple of other options with you. As you can see, I've got a lot on my counter here, so I want to share that. If you have any questions while I'm live, please feel free to ask. I always try to keep my videos short and sweet, but also answer as many questions as possible while I am live. I don't always see your comments though. So if I miss your comment, KB1 says, "Hi Mary, again, I will be on the headphones. It's supper time." Of course it is. So as I mentioned, if I see your comment, I will try and answer your question. Otherwise, you can send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com and I will answer you as quickly as possible. I apologize for the background noise. That is important for our herbal infusions tonight. So in order to make an herbal infusion, it is so simple. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to share with you and you're just going to be like, "Oh, okay, well, I already knew that, Mary." So to make an herbal infusion, you need a glass jar, you need some herbs, and you need some hot water. That is one of several ways of making an herbal infusion. So I'm going to share with you the basics. So first, you have a couple of different herbs that I like to use and herbs that I have on my back counter here. One of my favorites is Thai holy basil. And I'm going to make an infusion with this tonight, and I'm going to share with you one of my favorite recipes, and it's super easy. Basil self-seeds like crazy. So if you like basil, you can let it go to seed, which is when it starts to produce these flowers here, and then allow that to dry, and then you can save those basil seeds. Or if you like me and you like to go crazy with your basil, you can literally just take these flowers, these seed heads, once they start to produce and then dry out, and you can just sprinkle that basil seeds right where you're already growing it, and you'll have more basil producing. So Krista says, "Hello Mary, fellow Texan, and everyone in the chat, happy Friday." Happy Friday, everybody. Absolutely. So I'm going to share with you my favorite herbal infusion, but I'm also going to share with you a couple of other options and a couple of things, a couple of tricks that I like to use that make my life easy. So I generally just use a plain jar. Super easy, super simple. However, when I go to strain my herbs out for my herbal infusion, it can be messy. Most people, it's no big deal. I, however, tend to make a ridiculously silly mess. So, hey, Mindy, thanks for joining us. So I found something awesome at the Glass Cherry. For those of you that don't know, if we have a giveaway right now, in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to our September giveaway. It goes through December 10th, and today is September 10th, and today is September 8th. So you've got a little bit of time left to enter that giveaway if you want. And one of the prizes is a gift certificate to the Glass Cherry. In the description section of this video, you'll find what I'm going to talk about right now. So I really like these strainers. They're specific for a wide mouth ball jar or cur jar, any kind of canning jar that's specifically a wide mouth. So this is going to be my first herbal infusion that I'm going to share with you today. And you can use different types of herbs, but this is one of my favorites. So I use Thai basil, I'm gonna go ahead and stand here and kind of tear a couple of pieces off here because it's hard to do this live when I only have two hands. And I didn't think, okay, so doesn't this look pretty? I didn't think to tear this apart before I went live. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear a bunch of leaves off here so that I can have it for my herbal infusion. So as I mentioned earlier, my first herbal infusion is going to be Thai holy basil and Thai roselle. And if you don't know about Thai roselle, it is beautiful, delicious. And hey, Wade, thanks for joining us. Hey, Mindy, I got baby Jojo over here coming over because he really likes lemon balm. And I'm gonna discuss that with you in just a second, but I don't wanna give him this herb yet. So I take my jar. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining us. And I take my handful of Thai holy basil. And then I take previously frozen Thai roselle. If you grow Thai roselle from seed, you can harvest it and freeze dry it, or you can harvest it and dry it in your dehydrator, or just freeze it. So simplest way to do it is just freeze it. Super easy. So I'm gonna take these. I'm not gonna dump this because I will definitely make a mess. So I'm just gonna add these here. And now I'm gonna need a rag because my hands are dirty. Hang on just a sec. I don't want to dirty up my nice towel over here. We got Mary's Heirloom Seeds towels in the other day and I don't want to dirty that up. Okay, so you got your two options here. You can put whatever herbs you want in here, whatever you like to make in a tea. This is so refreshing on a summer afternoon. Hot water. I'm trying not to burn my hands, so I'm probably going to put this down fairly quickly. And you just fill up that jar with your hot water, okay? And voila, we have made our first herb infusion. Pretty cool, right? So this again, as I mentioned, Krista says, is that a new Mary's t-shirt you are wearing? Yes, this is a new Mary's t-shirt I'm wearing, and I actually just made it tonight. So if you're interested, you can send me an email and I'll share that with you. I haven't announced it yet. So KP1 says, okay, so this is a silly question. It's tea. An herbal infusion that I just described using hot water is pretty much tea. Now here's where what you're gonna do. When you're making an herbal infusion, generally it's going to be stronger than a tea. I will steep this. You jumped ahead of me, which is perfect. I'm going to steep this herbal infusion for about 8 hours. Probably 24 hours because I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator when I'm done, and I'm going to be done for the day, and I've got my my birthday weekend, so I'm not going to do a lot of work this weekend. Hey, Agape Field, thanks for joining me. So yes, Krista, to answer your question, yes, I have a new Mary's Heirloom Seed shirt, and I'm going to be making these, so if you want one, send me an email. Give me your size, and I got a couple colors that I'll do, but I'm not even going to announce that yet. So to answer the question, thanks so much. It's Monday, but I gotta work Monday, so I'm gonna take the weekend off. So yes, an herbal infusion is simply making tea in some cases. Now I have discussed making herbal tinctures, and that is totally different. Now, what you probably aren't interested in drinking is vinegar. Another option of making an herbal infusion is making herbal vinegar. Krista says, yes, of course I want one. Yes, so if you've got questions, by the way, or if you want one of my new shirts, it's mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I'll get back to you. If I don't get back to you this weekend, I'll get back to you on Monday. Hey, Tilly, thanks for joining us, and welcome to my video. So it was asked earlier if an herbal infusion is just tea. That is one option. You can infuse honey. So I'm not going to do it in my live chat tonight, but I picked up some raw honey from a farmer that we pick up grass-fed beef from here in East Texas. And this is raw honey. So I'm not going to cook this like I would the hot water with the herbs, but you can infuse honey. A common way that people do it is they'll do like lavender or garlic. That is a health remedy that a lot of people swear by, and they just use garlic and honey, but I don't have a recipe for you, so I'm not going to share the specifics. But that is one way to use your herbs to infuse, is using honey. Now, I mentioned this earlier, and now we're going to discuss herb vinegars. Mindy says, can you infuse oil like seasonings? Absolutely. You're getting ahead of me, but that's okay. I love it when you guys ask questions during the live chat. You can absolutely infuse your oil with herbs. Now, here's one of my cautions. If you use a raw or a fresh herb, I'm just gonna use this as an example because I have it in my hand. If you use a raw herb, it has a water content to it. So if you are using it in oil, you want to use a dried option. So you want to use, you can use your dehydrator if you've got it, or you can just dehydrate some of your vegetables or your herbs. I say vegetables. A lot of people use hot peppers. I love using hot pepper to infuse my oils. But I don't use a raw pepper, I use a dried pepper because the water content can make that oil go rancid. So super important to take into consideration. You can absolutely infuse your oils with herbs, but I personally recommend using dry herbs because the water content can make the oil go rancid. So I know I mentioned, I basically repeated myself, but super important because nobody wants funky oil from fresh stuff instead of the dried stuff. So if you're cooking and you really like infused oil, my absolute favorite is cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper dried in oil is awesome. So let me get to the vinegar, okay? So for vinegar, we have sage. It is beautiful. It smells so amazing. So for infusing vinegar, if you check out our harvest recipes at marysheirloomseeds.com, you go to Mary's blog and then you choose harvest recipes. Or if you're curious, you can sign up for our emails, and I send in my comprehensive planting guide. I have harvest recipes that include infused vinegar with basil. And it's purple basil, which turns the vinegar purple. Now, there's a couple of different options for vinegar. You might be going, well, Mary, what do I use? KP1 says, had to come to the computer. I love sage and vinegar. So awesome, I'm glad you joined me. Now, to make an infused vinegar, you can use white vinegar, just like you would for canning. You can use, or the regular kitchen vinegar. Remember, there are two different acidity levels. You've got canning vinegar and you've got regular white distilled vinegar, I think it's called. You've got rice wine vinegar. There's so many different vinegars out there, and you can use just about any one. Now, I have a preference. I use Bragg's Organic with the mother. Nobody's paying me to tell you that. I'm just letting you know that that's what I prefer. I buy multiple bottles at a time, and this specifically is with the mother. You might see some little funk on the bottom of there. That's the good stuff. So this is another super easy way to infuse your herbs into something that you would use. When you do this, you can use this for multiple applications. You can use it as a marinade. You can use it in salad dressing, depending on what you're infusing with your vinegar. I see this passed around on Facebook all the time. Orange peels and lemon peels. You take a giant glass jar and you shove your lemon peels in there, and then you put some vinegar in there. I don't use Bragg's for cleaning stuff. I just use regular white vinegar for that because I don't want to waste my good stuff. So you can add the lemon to a jar again with your vinegar, and that's going to be a cleaning option for you. So there are so many ways to infuse vinegar with your herbs or whatever you're growing in your garden. Krista says apple cider vinegar too because mother knows best. Wade says Bragg's is great to start homemade vinegar and homemade wine. I didn't know that, but good to know. So if you're going to make your own infused vinegar, here's what you want to do. You want to take a clean glass jar and you want to take clean herbs. You want to muddle, squish, chop, rough it up, however you want to do it, and you want to make sure you put it in your jar. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because I only have 2 hands and I can't do all that live. So once you get your glass jar full of your herbs, you're going to take your vinegar, whatever vinegar you choose, and you're going to top it up, right? Now, you want to leave a little bit of room so you don't slosh it all around. Here's something very important to consider. You don't want, hey, Wide Family Farm, thanks for joining us. You don't want your metal lid to be in contact with your vinegar. No matter what vinegar you choose, something funky happens. It's just a reaction that happens when you're making this with your herbs. If you don't have any other options, it's totally fine, totally up to you. But here's what I do. I either take a piece of cheesecloth and just cover it up and put it in my cabinet, or I like to take a piece of like plastic wrap or a plastic bag, like one of your sandwich bags, and you put it over it. And then if you use the plastic wrap or the plastic bag, you can still put your lid on top and your ring, and it's sealed and you're good. You don't have to worry about any bugs getting in it. And then you put it in your cabinet. Now, one thing I will say is make sure you make a note of it and make sure you put a label on it. And Wide Family Farm, you made an excellent point. If you have a plastic lid, like a Tattler lid that is reusable and it's not metal, go for it. Absolutely use it. It's just that the metal reacts oddly to the vinegar and you don't really want to do that. And you're not canning this, remember. You're just infusing it, so you don't want any funk in your stuff. So from here, once you add your liquid, put your top on it, label, label, label. I do this all the time when I talk about planting seeds or soaking seeds. Label everything, because in 2 weeks from now, you're gonna look at this jar without a label on it and you're gonna go, what the heck did I make? And you can always taste test it, not the end of the world, but I like to label everything. And if you watch my previous videos, I don't have fancy labels. I use blue tape, they call it painter's tape, and I just put that on the glass jar, use a permanent marker, and that way I can peel it off and there's no leftover adhesive if I use the blue painter's tape. So if you haven't used that before and you don't have it, I have rolls in my kitchen, I have it in my garage, I have it in my seed shop, I have a roll of blue tape just about everywhere. K1 says, tip, new American made lid, superb brand is tested for vinegar. Thank you for that heads up. I did not know that, so I do appreciate it. So by the way, if you're just joining me, welcome. In the description section of this video is a lot of different links for you to choose. Comprehensive planting guide. You can sign up for my emails. We have a seed giveaway for September that ends September 10th at midnight. So you definitely want to get in on that. And I mentioned earlier that, nice, I'm a superb rep. Thanks for mentioning. Awesome. So for those of you that are looking for a superb lid for your canning jars, go check out Wide Family Farm. We love them. They love us. We appreciate it. So if you want to buy your lids from them, definitely do that. And as I mentioned earlier, I have this. I have to be careful with this because it's hot. So I'm going to use my fancy Mary's Heirloom Seeds towel here. And this is my infusion. It's already turning pink of Thai Roselle and Thai Holy Basil. Super awesome. Now, I also have lemon balm. I use lemon balm all the time. And if baby Jojo was over here, that is my big fat cat. He cries for this stuff because he loves it. Lemon balm is safe for cats to eat, which is pretty awesome since I grow it out in my garden. It smells and tastes delicious. So I really like to use lemon balm in a lot of different things. It's good for you to use. It's healthy. It grows abundantly, literally like a weed in my garden. And then I also have spearmint. So spearmint tea is super easy to use. I love making spearmint tea because it's good for digestion, and also if you have any tummy issues, if you have indigestion or if you have gas or you just are nauseous, you can definitely use spearmint. So you can freeze this and infuse your tea or whatever it is at a later time, and it works really well. Wide Family Farm says it smells so good, but do you notice it loses its smell when you do things to it? Are you referring to the lemon balm or the spearmint? The Thai holy basil, yes, I do notice that it isn't as strong of a flavor when I put it in teas and things like that. The lemon balm I use in tea on a regular basis, and it has this delicious lemony flavor to it. I noticed that it doesn't smell as lemony, but it tastes very lemony. And if you're not noticing a really lemony flavor, use more. I'm always a big fan of using a lot of herbs. So there's a lot of growing out in our garden out there. So I always like to add more if I need to. So specifically, since you mentioned that, I'm gonna explain just a little bit. Wide Family Farm says, okay, thank you. So you can use 1 tablespoon of dry herb of your choice, but keep in mind that when you dry it, now I notice if I dry it, it doesn't have as strong of a flavor. So I like fresh and I like frozen. So I have dried my lemon balm. I've got a dehydrator. I did a video on dehydrating my herbs. I prefer fresh or frozen lemon balm and spearmint specifically. And I'm just mentioning that because I have it on my counter here. Asia Joe says, I'm late, but we'll be sure to catch the replay for what I missed. Hello, Mary and chat. Hello and welcome. Now, one last thing before I go, because we talked about herbal infusions in water, like a tea. And I want to point out that I didn't mention how long you use it. Agape Field says, I love lemon balm. I rub the leaves on my arms to keep the mosquitoes away. So do I. I go out in the garden and I take a big stem and I rub it up and down my arms and my legs to keep the mosquitoes away. Now, when you make an herbal infusion, typically you're going to be infusing this for 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever you prefer. Generally, roots of the herbs, like if you're using echinacea root, it's going to take longer than if you use leaves. So keep that in mind. It's much faster if you're using the leaves of, say, the basil. But you want to consume this within about 48 hours. I usually strain this, put it in the refrigerator. Always refrigerate your water-infused teas. We're just going to call it teas. So your herbal infusions that you use water, you're going to refrigerate. If you use vinegar, some people refrigerate. I like to refrigerate because I have the refrigerator space and I use it regularly. So I do like to have it kind of at eyes view. Some people just put it in their kitchen cabinet and they set it and forget it. 2 weeks later, it's ready to go. So that's absolutely up to you if you want to refrigerate it or put it in your cabinet as far as the vinegar goes. But again, you want to make sure that you are making sure everything is clean. If you have anything that is dirty that will build bacteria, that's going to cause a problem in the future. And then once you strain everything out, throw it in your compost bin. Don't throw it in the trash. Over here, if it doesn't go in my compost bin, it probably goes to my chickens. So that's always a plus, having chickens and livestock on the property is if it doesn't go on the compost bin, usually it goes out to the chickens. Now, before I close out, I want to share with you one of the infusions I made earlier, and I talk about it all the time because I absolutely love it. And that is basil. Now, this looks completely different than my normal basil, and I'll tell you why. I used dark purple opal basil for this, and it looks very, very green. And the reason for that is because when you're growing purple opal basil in the 105-degree weather that it is outside right now, you are going to lose some of that purple pigment. But as it cools down a little bit, so if you plant it in spring, you'll have a little more of a purple look to it. So now that it is hot, which is why I'm indoors talking about herbal infusions today, you're gonna have a little more of a green option. Now, if you watch one of the videos I have where I actually made basil lemonade, it is neon pink, and I use absolutely zero coloring in that. It was just the bright purple flowers and leaves from the actual basil. So I wanted to share with you kind of the differences, because you might think, oh, well, you know, Mary might have just added some color to that because my basil doesn't get my basil lemonade doesn't get that purple. And that's just because in different settings, in different growing areas, you're gonna have different colors, you're gonna have different issues that we face. And my purple basil lemonade is going to be green. But of course, we've got a lot of purple basil growing out there, so we'll have more available as it cools down. It will get more purple, and I'll probably share a couple more pictures of that as well. So, I hope you enjoyed my video on herbal infusions. There are so many different herbs available to infuse both your water, your vinegar, your oil, so many different options. So one question here. Oh, we got here. Lots more questions. So also, if I miss your question, send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. So KP1 says, quick question, how do I give lemon balm to my cat? Oh, you're Karen. Okay, so I've got a lot of awesome Florida customers that I've known for a really long time. And Krista, you're in Texas as well. Thank you so much. So I researched ahead of time if it was safe to give lemon balm to my cat. So I go out into my garden and I regularly harvest a lot of different herbs, and they love herbs. My cats, maybe because I grow food, maybe because it's fresh, I have no idea. I bring in fresh catnip, they eat it. I bring fresh lemon balm, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't know if this is okay to give my cat. And from everything I read, please consider doing your own research, because if your animal has a health issue, you need to do more research than what I'm going to tell you right now. But in moderation, what I read was lemon balm was safe for cats. So what I would do is I would take a sprig of lemon balm and I just hand it over to him, and I hold onto the stick, and he just chews a couple pieces of the leaves off, and he's done. I stopped giving him just the plain leaf because he chews it up and just leaves a bunch of debris all over the ground. So I started holding out the branch to him and then giving it to him. So it's really hot right now, as I mentioned. So my leaves are they're a little like crusty a little bit, but there's a little Spidey in there. Just little pieces of lemon balm. Rinse it off to make sure there's nothing funky on it, especially if you're using anything in your garden that might be harmful to them. We don't use anything in our garden, no sprays, no powders, no nothing. So I don't have to worry about this, but I do rinse it off anyway. And he just chomps on it. But again, just as a caution, I know the health of my cat, and he has zero health issues at this time. He's had full blood work done, so I know there's nothing underlying that might be agitated by giving him fresh herbs from the garden. So just like using any herbs, you always want to use caution. Check out if you're personally on any medication or your animal's on any medication. You always want to double check that there's no contraindications to using those different herbs, even if it's just tea. So I hope I answered your questions. And don't be afraid to use herbs. Look it up. You don't need a certification. You don't need to be a master herbologist. You just need to grow some food, read a little bit about it, and then go to work. Alrighty, everybody. I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off. And as I mentioned, if I missed your questions, please send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. And as Krista asked, yes, I'll be making a couple shirts with a beet logo on it. And you can send me an email if you've got any questions. And hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, share the information, and then also sign up for our giveaway that's in the description section that ends on September 10th, 2023 at midnight. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off, and happy planting, everybody.